Carly in Michigan, you're on the Ben Shapiro Show. Go for it, Carly.
Hi. I was laid off back on April 11th due to our governor's order for lockdown, with the understanding that everybody here was eligible for unemployment. However, that's not the case, and I'm just wondering how it is legal to force people out of work that have zero savings, especially in this state, and expect them just to continue to pay their mortgage, their rent, their car payments, their insurance, their food. And yet if they try to get a job somewhere, unless it's essential, whatever their definition of that anymore, because that seems to change, we are legally responsible. So we'll end up getting arrested or getting in trouble. How is this legal?
I mean, honestly, I think it's nearly impossible to enforce. And I think that you're going to start seeing over time, the governors basically acknowledge that it's impossible to enforce. I mean, the more stories that you see, like the story out of Texas with this salon owner who's now being hauled up and being told that she needs to apologize and never go to work until the government says she can go to work, and her saying, listen, I can't feed my kids.
Wow.
And the money didn't come through. I can't feed my kids. The American people are not going to stand for this kind of stuff. And the media have been utterly derelict in their coverage of this. Utterly derelict. They've been suggesting that there is no cost on the other side of the ledger, that the only thing we're attempting to do here is save human lives, and that if you mention the economic cost, that means that all you're really worried about is being able to get a haircut or go out to dinner. No, that's not what anybody is talking about. We're talking about people losing their life savings. We're talking about people losing their homes. We're talking about people who can't feed their kids or having to go to food banks. And the media have been pretending that if you even mention these things, it's because you do not care about human life. Honestly, it's utterly disgusting. It's truly disgusting, because every public policy is a matter of balance. And to pretend that there is no other countervailing balance other than the broad scale economy, if you say the word economy, it means that you're a bad person, is just absurd. The economy is regular people who have lives, who have children, who had jobs until 5 minutes ago. And for the government to throw you out of a job and then suggest, okay, well, we'll pay you, but maybe we won't. You know, maybe the check will never come. Or to tell people that stay home until we tell you it's okay to leave, but we're never going to give you a clear standard on when it's okay to leave or how long you can leave, or even if you do leave, how you can run your business. Like, none of this is sustainable on any level, Carly. And I literally cannot imagine this continuing more than the next few days, let alone months. I mean, if they really think that we're going to shut this thing down all the way until the end of the year, until a vaccine is discovered, you're out of your damn mind. This cannot continue. It just cannot continue. And Carly, I don't know, what is your situation in Michigan with regard to getting unemployment insurance? My understanding was that if you were unemployed, and that if you didn't fall into a group where you were categorized as a dependent on somebody else, then you should be able to get unemployment insurance. Right? If you were categorized as a dependent on your parents' IRS forms because you're 25 and in college or something, then you can't get any sort of unemployment insurance on your own benefit. Your parents can get unemployment. But I don't know what category you fall into that you're having trouble with the government.
There are a large number of people in the state who have been denied unemployment because they are going back on past employment in the past 18 months. So if you have ever quit a job in the past 18 months prior to being laid off due to COVID, you are not eligible for unemployment. So good luck to you.
I mean, that is utterly insane. That is utterly insane, obviously. And by the way, so are a lot of the government standards here. The government has set standards. They were attempting to basically cut off particular businesses based on size. How many people work for those businesses? And those businesses are trying to keep those people paid. If you're a big business, then you are cut off from the loan program. Or if you're a publicly traded business, then you're cut off from the loan program. Look, the reality is that the worse the government makes this, the less time it's going to last, because the American people are just not going to stand for it. At a certain point, they're going to say, listen, I understand this is going to get bad. I also understand that you guys have no solution. I was talking about this Wharton model that talks about how many deaths there are supposed to be if you just release everybody willy-nilly by the end of June. And the numbers are terrible. It's like 360,000 people or 350,000 people, as opposed to the 117,000 people if you maintain under lockdown through the end of June. But again, it depends on the timeline. If there is no cure, if there is no therapeutic, the same number of people are going to die. It's just going to be a matter of how long it is until the same number of people die. And that answer will be months, not years. And then the question becomes, okay, if the same number of people died and it took 10 months, as opposed to taking 3 months until we reached herd immunity, and we completely destroyed 40 million, 50 million, 100 million lives in the process, is that a trade-off that was worth making when the death numbers look exactly the same at the end of that timeline? Nobody is willing to have these conversations because they would actually militate in favor of taking more reopening provisions, in favor of reopening more. But nobody wants to do that because it's easier for the media to sit atop their perch with their guaranteed salaries and tell you that everything is going to be fine. Now, a lot of people know that things are not going to be fine, not the way things are going. Appreciate the call, Carly. Hang in there. Grace in Massachusetts, you're on the Ben Shapiro Show. Go for it, Grace.
Hi, Ben. What actions do you think the United States should take against China for releasing the virus?
So there are a bunch of actions that have been suggested, including measures that would basically force manufacturing chains to relocate outside of China. Depending on the industry, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, if you're talking about T-shirts, it doesn't make tons of sense. But if you're talking about vital industries that cannot be put at risk, right? Industries like the medical supply industry, drug industries, defense industries, that makes perfect sense. There's also been talk on a continuing travel ban from China. That makes perfect sense to me as well. As long as they're going to allow these wet markets to continue to exist, so long as we have no transparency into how their labs handle things, it makes sense to me that we shouldn't allow people to travel from there. That would include presumably student visas and people attempting to come to the United States and get a degree at our institutions and then go back home to China. Right? China is a security threat. It is a security threat. And what's hilarious is that China understands this. China understands that things are about to get very rough. There's an editorial actually in the South China Morning Post, which is an official newspaper of the Communist Chinese Party, suggesting that if the U.S. gets really, really antagonistic, then we could end up in a Cold War. Realistically speaking, we've been in a Cold War with China for quite a while. They've been stealing our intellectual property. They've been using their Belt and Road programs in order to set up situations with governments that they can twist to be more unfriendly to the United States. China is a bad actor, and treating them as a bad actor is absolutely necessary. Grace, I appreciate the call. Lance in Santa Cruz, California, you're on the Ben Shapiro Show. Go for it, Lance.
Hey, Ben, I was wondering what the DNC would have to go through in order to switch their presidential bid. And if they were to do that, who do you think they would choose?
So in order for them to throw Biden out, right now, Biden does not actually have a majority of the delegates because there is no majority of the delegates, meaning a bunch of primaries are not going to take place. So he is just assumed to be the nominee. There's a world where there's a move at the convention to get delegates to switch, or you just say that there are a bunch of unpledged delegates. There is no majority. They go into a smoke-filled room and they come out the other end and say, we decided against Joe Biden. Realistically speaking, that is not something that is going to happen. Joe Biden is going to be the nominee, barring some sort of serious medical condition that is revealed before the election. So he's not going to be replaced. If he were to be replaced, then you would assume that he would be replaced at this point with one of the governors of the states that the media have made popular despite their complete botchery, whether it's Whitmer or Cuomo. Cuomo obviously gets all the press because the media are all located in New York, even though Cuomo has been truly garbage at his job. Appreciate the call. I hope you enjoyed that clip from The Ben Shapiro Show. If you did, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you stay up to date on all of our future content.